Mets had their bags packed, ready for a 3-day baseball vacation. The midsummer break is upcoming, but still one more huge game to play today as the Mets try to avoid getting dunked by the Braves. At Citi Field in New York, Pick Sports presents New York Mets baseball today. The Mets play the Atlanta Braves. And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. Gary Cohen, Ron Darling with you. Hall of Famer Ralph Kiner joins us a little later on as the Mets and Braves wrap up the first half of the season, the technical first half of the season, as they finish off their 3-game series. The Mets, for the first time all year, have lost 3 straight games at Citi Field, and they're trying to avoid getting swept by the Braves here today. They'll play today without Jose Reyes, who came out of yesterday's game after feeling a little something in his side again, making a throw.
Well, he's trying to make the throw on Troy Glass, a ball in the hole, extremely long throw. He obviously felt something. David Wright, the third baseman, in fact, alerted the bench to come and get Jose. He is now sitting out. He is not going to go to the All-Star game. He's been replaced by Rafael Furcal. And just a bad ending here to this first half to see Reyes leave the lineup.
And Reyes had been playing so well. What his status will be when the Mets resume Thursday in San Francisco, we don't know. What we do know is that Carlos Beltran will be in the lineup. Carlos was in the ballpark today, and Jerry Manuel has said that Carlos will be hitting cleanup and playing center field come Thursday night.
And no, listening to him speak, he is ready to go. You know, his baseball mortality has flashed before his eyes, but sitting with all the reporters before the game, he said he is ready to go. And in fact, he really wanted to join this team before the Cincinnati series, but the team decided to give him a few more games to get ready for Thursday in San Francisco.
Meanwhile, this is an enormous game for the Mets today, having lost the first 2 of the series. They've fallen 5 games behind for the first time since the 3rd week in May, and they're trying to avoid falling 6 back before the break.
Well, it's a huge gap when you think about it. It's only 2 games, but the difference between 4 and being 6 out going to the break, also I think it's good for their motivation for the second half to win today's ball game.
And who better to have on the mound today for this game than a resurgent Johan Santana? One of the best games of his life his last time out.
Yeah, as good as I've ever seen him pitch. He had 3 hits in that shutout win, hit his first home run, one of those outstanding games, and he's going to have to be up to the task because Derek Lowe for the Braves, even though he started out a little slow, gave up a lot of runs early, his ERA was high early, he has really turned it around and has been outstanding his last 4 starts.
So Johan Santana takes to Hill for a crucial game for the Mets, the final game before the All-Star break. Mets will be back to Citi Field for 2.5 weeks. Get ready for baseball coming up on Picks. at Dodge.com or see your local Dodge dealers today. By AT&T, find out what's possible with the nation's fastest 3G network. By BMW, the ultimate driving machine. By Verizon Fios, Fios TV, Internet, and phone. This is Fios. This is big. By Wachovia, a Wells Fargo company. And by Toyota. There are many reasons to buy a Toyota, and now's the perfect time to get yours during Toyota's National Clearance event. Enjoy an exclusive luncheon with the 2010 Mets Hall of Fame inductees at Citi Field Saturday, July 31st for charity. Your donation includes food, beverage, and a ticket for that night's game against the Diamondbacks. Get to Mets.com/Hall of Fame or call 718-803-4074. Who's Hot is brought to you by McDonald's. Grab a delicious Mocha Frap at participating McDonald's. Mets will see the fine rookie catcher for the Giants, Buster Posey, right after the All-Star break in San Francisco. Jose Bautista not going to the All-Star game despite leading the major leagues in home runs. And Roy Oswalt, trade bait, resurgent with no earned runs allowed in his last 2 starts. David Wright getting ready for his 5th straight All-Star game. Hey, watch out, Hojo. Don't hurt him. Got enough injuries. First pitch, Mets and Braves coming up from Citi Field. And Fios, call 1-888-GET-FIOS. Here's the starting lineup for the Braves, brought to you by Toyota. Moving forward, Martin Prado, the league's leading hitter, has been blanked in this series, but not Omar Infante, co-all-star with Prado. 7 hits in the first 2 games. First start in the series for Matt Diaz against the left-hander, as the Braves take on Johan Santana, bidding for his 7th win of the year.
Santana coming off that crisp 3-hit shutout in his last start. 128 wins, 65 losses in his career. The Mets have only scored 44 runs for Johan Santana this year in his starts. Only 4 runs in his last 4 games. And a look at the defense, brought to you by Time Warner Cables. All the best triple play. Carter gets the start in left field. Bay sitting down on his bobblehead day. Pagan and Francoeur. Right to Hadakora Davis and Rod Barajas doing the catching. This Atlanta team, if you've seen them, the first 2 games of this series are playing awfully good baseball and have kind of negated the home field advantage that the Mets have had all season long.
Well, the Braves have gotten wonderful pitching. Their bullpen has been just about impeccable, led by the former Met Billy Wagner. And they have found ways to put together hits and overcome a lack of power. Now, they did hit a couple of home runs to help them win on Friday night, but yesterday they battered Mike Pelfrey for 12 singles over 4 innings plus. And they did it yesterday with Martin Prado and Melky Cabrera, the top 2 hitters in the order, going 0 for 8. Prado takes the first pitch of the day for ball 1. Another rough outing for Pelfrey. That's really 5 straight starts now that Pelfrey has been subpar.
It's interesting to see Jerry there giving him a little pep talk before the game. Probably some things that he'd love his pitcher to think about over the break.
Pelfrey will not pitch again until the Saturday night game in San Francisco, so he'll have almost a week between starts. 1-1 to Prado, and he lines one to left field. That chases Carter back, and Carter runs it down for the first down of the game. Chris Carter, not necessarily all that adept as an outfielder, but made a nice run to that ball for the first down. Interesting that Bay is not starting on his bobblehead day. It makes sense from a matchup standpoint because he's 0 for 15 in his career against Derek Lowe, but maybe this means he'll have to come off the bench for the game-winning home run.
There you go. Why not? It was interesting how Jerry talked about giving Bay the day off. He felt like he needed a mental day off just to kind of collect his thoughts. Also, he did it before with Castillo. The fans have been a little rough on Bay, and I'm sure all of them feel as though it's definitely warranted. And maybe just giving him a day off and then starting fresh on the West Coast.
And in Jason's defense, the entire team has stopped hitting over the last few days, especially in RBI situations. Here's Infante having a great series, and he hits one toward the middle. Tejada can't make the diving play, and Infante has his 8th hit in 11 at-bats in this series.
Well, we came into this series questioning the decision to bring Omar Infante to the All-Star game. Obviously, he hurt us because he has been red hot. Nice try by Tejada, who kind of overdove that ground ball up the hole.
So 1 out and 1 on. Here's Chipper Jones playing the 2nd straight day after sitting out Friday night with back spasms. Chipper went 2 for 5 yesterday. His numbers the lowest they have ever been at an All-Star break. Just 6 homers, 33 driven in. And Chipper contemplating retirement at the end of the year, although that would necessitate leaving 2 years of huge money on the table, and whether he walks away may well depend on how he and the Braves can negotiate a buyout.
Well, that's been the theme of the world, hasn't it, the last 6 months? The buyouts. On the field and off.
And Chipper hits one down the right field line. It'll slice away and go foul. And it's 0-2. Chipper with 42 career home runs against the Mets. And if he does indeed leave the scene at the end of this year, it's one of the unique stories in all of sports that you would have the elite players like Chipper Jones and Billy Wagner retiring at the end of the season, and have an elite manager like Bobby Cox leaving at the end of the year as well. I can't recall any sports franchise that's ever had a similar situation. And I wonder if it's possible that, one of the explanations for the way the Braves have played this year lies in that reality.
Yeah. Well, they love their manager. I'll tell you, anyone who's ever played for Bobby Cox only has great things to say about it. And I'm sure that the attention to detail and the hustle is just going to be a little extra this year for Bobby's last.
Again, the 0-2, and he struck him out. Santana with the changeup gets Chipper Jones for his first strikeout. 2 away.
It's been very interesting in this inning that Santana has thrown an inordinate amount of changeups in the first inning. Usually we see him go with mostly his hard stuff early, but even through the first time through this lineup, he's featuring that changeup.
So 2 out, and now Troy Gloss, who came into this series struggling, but is 2 for 7 and has driven a couple of runs in the first 2 games. Still not moving around very well on a bulky knee right now, and appeared to tweak it on a slide yesterday. Nonetheless, out there for the 3rd straight day as Santana starts him off with a fastball.
He also had his wrist bent back on a indifferent throw from the shortstop Escobar, where Frank Cora and he got tangled up.
But he was able to make a lunging grab of a line drive yesterday that turned into a double play, one of 3 double plays the Mets hit into in yesterday's 4-0 loss. Santana with back-to-back fastballs gets ahead on Gloss 0-2.
Santana's got a great memory. In Atlanta, a big home run was hit by Gloss off Santana on a hanging changeup, going after him with the hard stuff early.
12 pitches, 11 strikes so far for Santana. Ahead on Gloss 0-2. Johan coming off the 3-hit shutout of the Reds on Tuesday night, threw 113 pitches in that game and going the distance on his 7th career shutout. Now the 0-2, and Gloss pops it up, shallow left center. Long run for anybody, but Pagan gets there to make the lunging backhand catch. Boy, Angel Pagan has just played wonderfully in center field all year long, and he makes a terrific play to end the top of the 1st. Reyes in the lineup. Alex Cora moves into the 2-hole. Chris Carter getting the start in left field. 5 of the 8 position players starting for the Mets today have on-base percentages of .303 or lower.
Ooh, that's not good. Not
Speaking
good.
of Lowe,
especially when they're going against Derek Lowe. 9 wins on the season. If he gets one more win, that'll be the 9th consecutive seasons he's won in double figures.
Angel Pagan has entered the top 10 in the National League in batting. He's now 8th in the league at .311. And I thought it was pointed today that Jerry Manuel put out his batting order and lineup for the first game after the All-Star break. It had Beltran hitting cleanup and playing center field, and it had Pagan batting second and playing right field. And I think that establishes very quickly what the most usual lineup that we're likely to see in the second half is going to be. And that, of course, puts Jeff Francoeur in a subsidiary role. Out to left field where Matt Diaz is there. And Pagan retired, 1 away.
Oh, look at the Braves defense, brought to you by Time Warner Cables. All the best triple play. Diaz, Cabrera, and Fonte. You see those 621 starts, third amongst major league catchers for McCann. Who else has been outstanding at first base this year, and 49 walks out of their leading 361.
Here's Alex Cora hitting second in the order, and he takes outside for ball one.
You know, what's interesting is that you say that Jerry was asked the question, and he put the lineup out there, something that he said that he would be premeditated about days ahead of time to let his outfielders know. That's a lot of time to let Jeff Francoeur know that he won't be playing in that first game. But I think even more interesting than that, it better be penciled in there, because there's two problems. One is whether Reyes is going to be healthy to play on Thursday. And secondly, his lineup had Bay hitting sixth. That means the catcher's position will bat seventh, probably Barajas, let's say. The problem is to get Bay off to a fast start, you're going to put him in front of a guy who has really struggled the last month and a half. That probably is not the best scenario to get Jason the number of fastballs that you'd like to see him hit.
Call strike to Cora at 2-2. Well, he did say that Francoeur would probably play against the lefties. They'll probably face either Barry Zito or Jonathan Sanchez, or both in that series. And also, Beltran's not going to be able to play every day. Now, Carlos said that that's up to the manager. He said, I was ready to play every day in St. Lucie. He doesn't feel as though he'll have limitations. But realistically, with a guy coming back off an interrupted season last year and half a season on the sidelines this year, you don't expect Carlos to be out there 7 days a week.
And also, you're dealing with the San Francisco weather. And it's a little different than being 100 degrees in Port St. Lucie with that humidity and maybe having a 50-degree night like they often do in San Francisco.
Little floater out to shortstop, and Escobar's got it for the second out. Cora now hitless in his last 10 at-bats. And let me throw this out to you, too, because I found this kind of curious. Beltran played his last rehab game yesterday, came to New York today, is going to work out over the next few days and go with the team to San Francisco. I find it curious that after playing rehab games for a couple of weeks, he's basically taking 5 days off from games before playing his first real game on Thursday. I wonder about his timing in regard to that.
Yeah, that's more like a starting pitcher, right? Yeah, I don't think that's the greatest idea. I know he's going to work out. The team's going to have a couple of workouts. So probably even have a maybe early batting practice Thursday before the game. They might have a little batting practice before they get on the plane on Wednesday. But yeah, I find that curious too. That with Brooklyn right here, why not use that facility to get a couple more games in?
1-1 to David Wright, who's hitting at .314, sixth in the league. Took an 0 for yesterday, but finishing off a marvelous pre-All-Star break season. David's heading to his 5th straight All-Star game as the starting third baseman, and after fits and starts at the beginning of this year, just having a wonderful season.
Monster season.
Three and one now to Wright. Well, the Mets have gotten a lot of positives this year out of unexpected sources, but what they've gotten from Wright may be most important of all, from an expected source.
Well, I think what he's proven to the Mets fan is that last year was an anomaly. The other years where he was just a monster and well over 20 home runs, well over 100 RBIs are the norm for David Wright.
On 3-2, he hits one well to center, but Melky Cabrera is there and pulls it in before the warning track to end the inning. So a 1-2-3 inning for Derek Lowe. No score after 1. Keys to the game are brought to you by Cadillac. Visit CadillacTristate.com.
Well, Matt Diaz has had his way with Santana, 12 for 23. That's a 522 clip with a home run. Maybe Rod Barajas can get off the schneid a little against Derek Lowe. He is 5 for 9 against Derek. And the Mets, with runners in scoring position the last 3 games, just anemic, 1 for 26. That's going to have to change today.
Brian McCann leads off the second inning for Atlanta. McCann 3 for 8 in this series. His season has begun to perk up over the last month after a slow start. More problems for McCann with his eyes and his glasses and his contacts seem to have been resolved now.
Well, what was happening is that he had laser eye surgery in the off season this year, but then he was in between his glasses and his contacts. He couldn't figure out what to wear. And what had happened is that he was putting eye drops in his eyes before the game. They were over dilating his pupils, and that was the problem. So he has stopped that, and it seems to work out much better.
McCann hitting 5th of the order against the left-hander and takes the breaking ball for a strike. And it's 1-2. Good fastball by Santana, strikes out McCann. Second strikeout for Johan. 1 down in the second.
Well, one of the things you always want to watch off Johan Santana are the swing and misses, as his strikeout totals have gone up the last couple of days and his walks have come down.
Well, he has been a strike throwing machine so far today. 5 batters, 17 pitches, 15 strikes. Matt Diaz, Ronnie mentioned the great numbers Diaz has against Santana. And he swings at the first pitch and lifts one out to right center for Pagan to play. And quickly there are 2 out.
Well, the Braves' approach so far, and Santana read it right away, is to swing a lot early, swing at the first pitch, and the result is the fastball there, but he's thrown a lot of changeups in the first inning.
The idea of swinging early on the last day before the All-Star break is an old story.
That's right.
But generally when you have an important game, which today is, that kind of gets thrown out the window.
It does. I mean, and for you folks at home, one of the reasons it's been used, if you have 2 teams that aren't very good and they're suffering through a bad half, say you got Pittsburgh playing Houston, then you have a lot of guys that are looking at the clock, looking and thinking that, okay, I got a 6:10 from LaGuardia, get a car. I mean, they're doing a lot of that stuff, waiting to get out of town.
That's Angel Hernandez kind of thinking.
That's right. The Chipper you saw on the bench, he's going to go back to the ranch in Texas.
I mentioned Angel. I'm sure most Met fans remember 1998, the last game before the All-Star break. Mets were playing at Turner Field, extra inning game. Fly ball down the right field line by Escobar goes foul. Michael Tucker trying to score the winning run from third. Slides into Mike Piazza's thigh. Never touches home plate. Angel Hernandez calls him safe. Game over. Johnny Franco goes ballistic. Spikes the ball. Gets suspended. Angel 5 minutes later is out the door and on his flight.
Not very good.
Yeah. Here's the 1-2 to Escobar. Foul back. And Met fans who remember have never forgotten.
You know, let's talk about Chipper. You have David Wright's going to be going to the All-Star game. Mike Pelfrey back to his home in Wichita. Some of us will be going to the shore.
Popped up. Ike Davis flips those nice flip-on sunglasses down. And it's a 1-2-3 inning for Santana, who looks like he's in the groove again today. Is brought to you by AT&T. Find out what's possible with the nation's fastest 3G network. Ike Davis leads off the home second inning in a scoreless game. Ike is 1 for 7 in this series, 8 for his last 46, and like many of the Mets, appears as though he really needs the All-Star break.
Yeah, it seems like a few of the Mets are running on fumes, aren't they?
You know what it was, the giveaway for me for Ike was the play he tried to make on the bunt yesterday where he couldn't quite make the diving catch.
Yeah, he was I think he was trying to make that play with May legs and he had July legs.
Still, for a guy that coming out of spring training we didn't expect to see in the big leagues the first half of the season, he's had himself quite an initiation into the major leagues.
Yeah, he has been an awfully great surprise. I don't even want to say surprise because he had such a great spring training. But to come in and not only play defensively the way he has played, notwithstanding the play on the bunt yesterday, but also the ability to step into that fourth slot and not really pay it any mind. You know, I mean, Mets fans and people that follow this club, he was just thrown in there and you never asked another question. You knew he could handle it.
3-2. That having been said, the fact that Beltran's going to take that cleanup spot and move Ike down to 5th or 6th is probably a good thing for him. Take a little bit of the burden off.
McCann went through all the signs there. Sinker away, curveball no, slider no, changeup no, fastball in. Now back to the curveball.
And he tried to backdoor it and missed. And Davis is aboard. Lowe a little bit peeved at Gary Darling, the home plate umpire. Of course, Bobby Cox, when it comes to umpires, is in a constant state of peeve.
Well, Bobby's one of those few managers, and because he's been around so long, there was a day where heckling from the manager from the dugout at an home plate umpire was just a given. It happened all the time.
Well, we've had the microphone down near Bobby before. He used to comment on every pitch. Jeff Francoeur hitting 5th today, and he yanks one foul. Jeff looking for his first hit in this series. A year to the day since his first game as a Met. Made his debut against the Reds at Citi Field a year ago today. Went 2 for 4 with a couple of RBIs. And he has been determined to get something done against his old team in this series, but has had a difficult time of it. Since joining the team a year ago, Francoeur has played more games than any Met. He has the second most hits, the second most home runs, and the second most RBIs of any Met since the day he made his debut. Second in hits to Pagan, second in home runs to Wright, and second in RBIs to Wright. Over the same calendar year, the Ryan Church, the man he was traded for, 219, 5 homers, 34 RBIs. And really struggling in Pittsburgh now. Francoeur goes down on the slider by Lowe for a strikeout for Derek Lowe. And one down in the second.
Well, you'll watch with Lowe. He'll drop down a little bit, and as the rest of the league knows, if you get ahead of Jeff Francoeur, you do not have to throw the ball on the plate. And got Frenchie to chase that slider.
So 1 out and 1 on. Now Chris Carter. 14th game that Carter has started for the Mets. And he first pitch swings and grounds one foul down to Razor Shines. Carter at 239, 2 homers, 12 RBIs. Mets are going to be obviously making a roster move right after the All-Star break with Beltran coming back. It's going to be interesting to see which way they go. You have to figure that Carter or Feliciano will be the guy to exit. Which talent set would you like to keep around? Two very different players.
Well, I think for myself personally, I think that this is nothing against Jesus, who has played fine baseball. but you already have the 4 outfielders fitting into 3 spots, and Carter's more of a offensive player off the bench than a defensive player, so why not go with the extra player?
My name is Ruth Wood. I'm the president of the Boat US Foundation. I want to tell you about one of my favorite programs.
1-1 to Carter.
It's the
Pulled through the hole, a base hit.
Institute.
Around second goes Davis. He'll stop there as the ball's picked up in right field by Infante, and the Mets have 2 men on. So Chris Carter has a base hit his first time up. The Mets' first hit of the afternoon.
Well, that's one of the nice things about having that hole for Carter is that any kind of breaking ball, it's almost natural to pull it through that hole. The one thing about Ike here is that what it would have been a good read, as you see Chip Hale looks like he was holding up Ike Davis there, but he has to remember he has an infielder that's playing the outfield, and Infante, of course, doesn't have the real strongest of arm.
And running away from his throwing arm that time, going toward the line. It was a little surprising. I know Ike is not very fleet, and you don't want to get him thrown out of third, but it looked like a ball where he could have gone first to third.
The way they're having trouble scoring runs right now and hitting with runners in scoring position, you need to push the envelope, especially early.
Here's Barajas. Rod is 1 for 4 in the series, and he takes a fastball for a strike. Barajas with good career numbers against Derek Lowe, 5 hits in 9 career at bats. We were talking about the low on base percentages. There's another one.
Well, the Braves play Barajas strictly to pulls. You see right here, Melky Cabrera playing right in left center almost, at least on the other side of the bag, allows Rod Barajas all of right center field.
And a good slider by Lowe. Derek Lowe's been pitching some of his best baseball of the year lately. His last 3 starts, he has a 2.75 ERA, but he hasn't won any of those games. Last time out against the Phillies, he lost 3-1.
Well, he deserves a little payback because early in the season, he was giving up 4, 5, 6 runs and winning every single ball game. But the reason he has had success, I was talking to the Braves people, is that he's kept the ball down.
Barajas along the line. Diaz a long run, and he can't get there. It's a foul ball. Foul ball. Looked like it bounced right near the line, but not close enough, and there's the evidence. It's like the Cyclops in tennis.
That's right. Well, Diaz is an offensive player. He doesn't have a lot of speed, and that was a pretty easy call for the third base umpire. A little divot.
Mike Estabrook at third base, the umpire. He's actually filling in for Bill Hahn. If you watched the game yesterday, you saw that Bill had some problems keeping himself hydrated, and so he's getting the day off today. Slowly hit. Out at second, the turn by Prado, and they double up Barajas to end the inning. 6-4-3 double play, and that gets Derek Lowe through the second. 1 hit and 1 left. Still no score. It's clubhouse, dugout, the Mets Hall of Fame and Museum, and more. Call 718-507-TIXX or log on to Mets.com to reserve your tour today. Now, I'm not sure. Do you think the tour includes a look at the Ralph Kiner television booth? Do they bring them in here to look around?
Good luck.
Now, if they're really lucky, if they take a tour of our booth, they might find the man for whom the booth is named, Ralph Kiner. As Melky Cabrera pops one up into shallow right. Long run for Francoeur, and it lands, and that's a fair ball as Francoeur flips over that low wall, and the ball goes out of play for a ground rule double. Well, we have been wary of that wall since this place opened, and that's the first guy to really take a bad tumble. But Frenchie gets up, and he appears to be okay.
Well, the problem with the wall is that for normal human beings, it's not so bad. But for athletes that are 6'2", 6'3", or 6'4", it comes right about knee level. And upends Francoeur as the ball goes into the stands there for a ground rule double. Really no way to make that play unless you come in with the pop slide and slide feet first and try to catch that ball in the slide.
You know, the better way of that thing is the fact that if he had a wall that was higher, he would have crashed into the wall. That way he goes over the wall and doesn't get hurt. So it was really a lucky break.
Well, he got his hands down to brace his fall, which was a good thing. You'd hate to see him land on his shoulder. The bunt missed, and Cabrera just getting back ahead of the throw by Rod Barajas. Anyway, Ralph, how are you?
Well, I thought you'd never ask. But anyway, I'm doing fine. Everything's in real good shape, and it's really great to be out here in the summertime with the sun shining brightly, and we got to get a win here for the New York Mets somehow.
Big game
because
today.
It's a really big game. It's a psychological game.
Barajas allowed that ball to skid off the line and go foul.
Ralph, psychological in what way? Like this is just good for your mental health to go into the break,
it's
isn't it?
an ego game. It's the type of game that you want to win and need to win, and if you lose it, you got 4 or 5 days to think about it, and that's no good. And you have a win, and you say, well, we're back on track. And so baseball, as you know, Ron, is a game of thinking.
Yeah.
I mean, you can think yourself into trouble out of it.
Davis goes to third, and Cabrera is out. Cabrera did not get a good jump at all off second base, and Ike had plenty of time, and Wright had plenty of time to get the tag down.
One thing about Ike is the fact that he has done a wonderful job at first base.
One of the things that you can do here is a nice charge by Ike, the proper throw. We know he's got a great arm. Well, a little off there, but Melky did not get the jump like Gary said. But if you're the runner on second, you have to know, if you're a thinking ball player, you don't always have to go. If it's a bad bunt, make your read, start to go, and go back to the base. Second base in scoring position is better than making the out at third base.
I can't ever remember a player getting thrown out by that much on that kind of a play.
Well, the problem is that, Barajas threw down to second base, and when Cabrera went back sliding to second base, he got up very gingerly and was walking around. So I don't know if he hurt himself on that slide or.
Martin Prado lines one to Davis, and Lowe is able to get back safely. Well, he chased him, but he couldn't run him down.
Another good play by Davis, who has wonderful actions at first base. It just couldn't quite get to the body. Lowe, a pitcher, got back in a hurry. Didn't go far off, fortunately for him.
Both players with their hands on their knees. They haven't sprinted like that in a while, both of them.
Well, they sprinted 5 feet.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, but it's the first step that hurts.
These guys are not thoroughbreds now.
So 2 out. Lowe's still at first, and now Omar Infante. Meanwhile, Prado's now 0 for 10 in this series, heading into his first All-Star game appearance.
0 for 10. A curveball goes on the back door for a strike. 0 for 10. He's still leading the league in hitting and also in the number of base hits.
Right. 121 hits.
And also, the Braves have won both games, and he's gone 0 for 10.
Well, it's because this guy's made up for him. He's 8 for 11 is Infante after a base hit his first time up today. in the hole. Tejada gives ground and can't make the play. And runners are safe at first and second. Tejada kept backing up, and that ball eventually played him.
You know what I found interesting on this play? One, that David Wright was playing even with the bag with 2 outs and the pitcher on first. Infante 8 for 11 in this series. And Tejada, the only way to make that play was to charge that and get it on the short hop.
And you wonder about whether or not Jose Rios could have made that play, and you'd say, yes, he could have made that play because his defense has been impeccable outside of the games, the last couple of games. Yeah.
So Infante gets credit for another hit. Now 9 for 12 in the series. And here's Chipper Jones with 2 out and 2 on. And Santana misses inside.
You know, Jones led the league in hitting 2 years ago, and then he dropped 100 points exactly the next year. That's the biggest drop of all time. And this year he's not doing much better.
Reaches for the changeup and pops it up. And Davis goes a long way to get it to end the inning. It's a big defensive inning for Ike Davis, helping Santana out of a jam. Still no score. Mets and Braves no score. No, all three of us, and I'm sure all of you today, were troubled to hear of the passing of Bob Sheppard, one of the great voices of any sport in any season in this town.
How about in anything, in any kind of entertainment? They had one of the great voices of all time and everything. You know, I took lessons from him. I got shoved into being a broadcaster, having been an ex-player like so many guys now, without any experience of broadcasting. And I called him up and went to him, and he worked for me. Of course, it didn't work. So, anyway, he was and the other thing was I was the great voice of a radio broadcaster in the Hall of Fame.
Well, Bob Sheppard passed away at the age of 99, and I think for any player, there was no greater thrill than to be in Yankee Stadium and have their name announced by that voice.
The first time I ever pitched there, I was warming up, and he was announcing the lineups and for the Oakland Athletics, and I couldn't wait to hear my voice. Stop the warm-up and just listen for him to say my name. It was such an honor for a ball player.
And the thing about Bob Sheppard is when you met him in person, he was exactly what you expected him to be. He was gracious. He was dignified. He was friendly. He had time for everybody. I mean, I don't know anybody who ever has gotten a conversation with Bob who didn't feel as though he was warm and welcoming to them. It was a true honor to be in his presence. It really was.
You know, with the passing of Ernie Harwell earlier, really the royalty of this game, both of those gentlemen.
Well, they were the original broadcasters of a sport, baseball, that was the only sport for a long time.
Cabrera picks off the fly ball by Tejada for the first out.
And that's a big difference because the voices of the past and broadcasting, the Mel Allens, the Russ Hodges, all the old-time broadcasters, Ernie Harwell included, were the people that brought baseball to millions of people all over the world.
Well, you know what's interesting, Ralph, is that because there's so much baseball on TV, so many voices who do the games, but there was a time, of course, when you would only hear one or two voices your entire life when you watched your team.
But, you know, I think the legacy of Bob Sheppard is different because, think about it, how many public address announcers are known? I mean, Sherm Feller at Fenway Park for years had a kind of a similar kind of cachet, but you know, most ballparks, the public address announcer is an anonymous figure. Right. But Bob Sheppard was almost larger than life.
Well, everyone knew him and knew of him. There's no doubt about that.
And it's almost forgotten. You know, he also spent 50 years doing PA for the Giants.
That's right.
And, you know, I didn't go to a lot of Giants games over the years, but you'd go and you'd hear that voice, and somehow it was a little incongruous.
Yes.
Talking to him for 3. Down swinging is Santana for the second out. So Lowe has retired the first 2 here in the third. Now Angel Pagan coming up. Pagan flying to left his first time up. Mets offense has been in brownout over the last few games. Mets have scored just 6 runs in the last 4 games leading into this one. And, you know, a week ago, Ronnie, you were talking about how a team goes into the All-Star break. And, you know, you want to charge into the break rather than limp in. And unfortunately for the Mets, it's been the latter.
You know, what's interesting is that Jerry said something I had never heard before. He said once coming home, it would be a good thing for the Mets because they're playing both the Cincinnati Reds and the Atlanta Braves. Braves in first place, the Reds in first place. Teams that they would have to get up for.
Pagan drives one to the gap in right center field, and that's going to be between them. And Pagan's thinking 3 as it rolls to the 4:15 mark. They'll have an easy triple. 6th triple of the year for Angel Pagan. And he just keeps on doing it.
Oh, but Pagan has become the hitter everyone thought he would be. He's been an outstanding athlete with a lot of talent, but made a lot of mistakes. And here, after being with other ball clubs and back into the New York area, he has done a tremendous job. He has the speed of Reyes, and he can fly, and he can also hit the ball hard.
There's no other ballpark in Major League Baseball that on my scorecard I immediately put in triple as he's getting around first base because you know what's going to happen.
Well, this park is 415 where he hit that ball, which is a big center field. Not the biggest ever. 483 feet in the old polo grounds in Straightaway center field. So, you know, they've been bigger parks, but this is not a really good hitter's park.
Alex Cora trying to get the first run of the game home from third with 2 out. Alex hit a little bloop to short his first time up, and he lines one over short, a base hit, and that brings home the game's first run. Cora drives home Pagan, 1-0 New York. Cora's been at his best this year in RBI situations.
And he got a fastball there to hit it hard over the shortstop's head. And the Mets are hitting now for the first time with a runner in scoring position. They had only 1 hit in the last 2 games of this series.
First run of the game brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. The Mets have been 5 for 40 with runners in scoring position on this homestand. And Cora comes through with a big hit to get the Mets and Santana a run to work with. For Pregame, that's his 46th run scored this year. And as Pregame continues to perform day after day, week after week, month after month, it really makes the choice for Jerry Manuel very easy.
I agree.
He's got to play.
And it's tough on a guy like the right fielder of the New York Mets, because he's the one that's going to have to sit down.
David lines one into left field, a base hit.
So 3 straight 2-out hits from the top 3 hitters in the order. And now 2 men aboard for Ike Davis.
David Wright is playing in his 5th All-Star game when it comes due on Tuesday. Only 2 other Met players have played in more. One was Gerald Strawberry, played in 6. And the other one you probably wouldn't guess, Tom Seaver, because pitchers don't always play in the All-Star game.
Remember Tom's first All-Star game, he played in that 15-inning game, and that was in Anaheim, wasn't it?
That was in Anaheim. Yes, it was in the daytime, and they struck out almost every batter in that game.
Tony Perez hit the home run in the 15th, and I think Seaver got the save in that game.
That's right, yes.
Jose Reyes will be making the trip, but he will not be playing. He's been replaced on the roster by Rafael Furcal, and good for Furcal. He certainly deserved it the way he's played the last month. But Jose will take in the atmosphere without putting himself on the field. So Ike Davis with 2 men on takes a strike. And certainly the hope is that Jose will be ready to play on Thursday, but I don't think there's any guarantee that he will. Davis walked his first time up.
You know, speaking of the All-Star game, David Wright finished 2nd in the eliminating contest a couple of years ago.
It was in Pittsburgh, wasn't it?
I don't remember where it was, but he was there. He was almost ready to win that thing.
Well, he had a great run with Paul LaDuca doing the pitching.
You know, when I played in the All-Star games, they didn't have the home run hitting contest.
Too bad.
I did hit home runs in 3 consecutive games in the game of the All-Star game, which I'm very proud of because I'm the only person that's ever done that. But the All-Star game is really important in the 40s and 50s. And the National League was dominating and started with the 1950 All-Star game. 1950 All-Star game, and the National League won that game in extra innings. They had a home run in the 9th inning to tie the game, and Sandys won it for the home run, I believe it was the 13th inning. In those days, you went to the All-Star game on a train, and it would take all day to get there, play the game, and to get back on the train and go back to your hometown or the town you're going to play in next. It was not easy to do.
You guys played 9 innings in the All-Star game.
That's right, and we did. 1950, I think all of us just about played every inning of that whole game.
Low's gone to 3-2 on Davis, so an automatic start now for Cora and Wright.
And the other thing is the All-Star game means something for home field advantage, which I think is totally wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
It should not be that way.
3-2 to Ike, and he swings and misses, and Lowe strikes him out to end the inning. The Mets pick up the first run of the game. Pagan sparks it with a triple, comes home on Cora's base hit. And the Mets lead 1-0 after 3. 3G coverage. Some of the big crowd gathered here on the final game before the All-Star break. It's going to be a long time before the Mets are back here at Citi Field. You got the All-Star break, then an 11-game road trip as Troy Glaus leads off the 4th inning. Next home game for the Mets after today is Tuesday night, July the 27th. Wow. That's 16 days from now.
That's right after the Hall of Fame ceremony is up at Cooperstown.
They're that weekend, huh?
Mm-hmm. Doug Harvey, one of the honorees.
Yes.
And Doug was I'd say for an umpire, was a good guy.
Yes.
I have to qualify that a little bit.
He was an interesting guy. You could always talk to him.
I called him the Lord.
Yeah, the Lord.
The Lord, yeah. His nickname was the Lord.
How can you argue with the Lord?
Yeah. He reminded me of Al Bartek, who was in the Hall of Fame as an umpire. And Al Bartek was a great umpire when I played. And he and Jocko Conlon in the Hall of Fame. Jocko Conlon was a feisty little guy. He's the only guy that ever threw me out of a ball game. I'll never forgive him. Yeah, threw me out of a game. Said I punched him.
Did you deserve it?
No, I didn't deserve it. I had my hands in my back pockets. If I hit him, I had to end with something else.
3-2, and Glaus takes a changeup, strike 3 call. Third strikeout for Santana, 1 down in the 4th.
Well, the great thing about Doug Harvey, this perfectly placed changeup right on the kneecaps, is that if you come off in between innings and you thought he'd missed a couple pitches, you'd say, hey, Doug, where were those pitches? He'd say, about 2.5 inches outside, Ronnie.
I got 1.5. I'll tell you, Beans Reardon is not in all of him, but it was a tremendous character. And you'd say, oh, Beans, you missed that pitch. He said, so what? You got 2 more strikes. That was his answer to you every time.
1-1 to Brian McCann, who struck out his first time up. When Santana gets on a roll like this, he just can't wait to throw the next pitch.
Well, he's only thrown 11 balls out of his 43 pitches today. And you're right. It's almost like he wants to rush through the lineup. Can't wait to make that next pitch.
Yeah, Ron, that's what all good pitchers should do.
Right.
Most of them do. I mean, it's these guys that walk around the mound look like they're afraid of throwing the ball to the plate.
I think the one thing about Santana is because his mind is so sharp, he's probably 3 or 4 pitches ahead, Gary. That's why he can work so quickly. Because as soon as he's released the ball, he already knows what the next pitch is going to be. So there's no thinking or extra thinking.
Well, the guy who epitomized that wore a Braves uniform. That was Greg Maddux.
He worked in that area.
Just always had a purpose with every pitch, didn't he, Ralph?
Yes.
There's the 2-2 to McCann, and the changeup sits high. Well, since Santana burst on the scene, he has been amongst the elite.
Well, you know, with the Mets, he was taken out of so many ball games with a lead. He was leading the games with a chance to win, and the Mets blew the games.
First walk given up by Johan as he passes McCann.
I mean, how can you take this man out of any game? I mean, you're paying him all that money. He loves the pitch. He's a very great competitor. And you take him out of a game with your best guy. I never have figured that one out.
See what he's done in his 7 no decisions. Certainly has deserved to win virtually all of them.
Yeah, there were 5 of those 7 he was up ahead in the ball game. The other 2 probably he was tied. Well, he went out of one game here. It was 1-1. They had thrown 96 pitches. I don't understand that.
That Diaz fly to center his first time up. Well, we haven't talked about it. How about the game in Philadelphia last night? Roy Halladay against the rookie Travis Wood, whom the Mets saw last week. Halladay throws 9 scoreless innings. Wood, perfect for the first 8, throws 9 scoreless innings.
Unbelievable game.
And the top of the 9th inning, a double by Reyes, is it? Yeah, Reyes.
Carlos Ruiz, just first game off the disabled list.
Just got off the disabled list, and they also won the game, and they doubled in extra innings with a double. And then they scored the winning run when Rollins had over the run in.
Neither pitcher walked the batter. It was just a classic matchup. Travis Wood, for you Mets fans,
ends up picking it up. And so a soft hit for Diaz, but a hit nonetheless.
should have known that Cora was all the way over at second base, and that was going to completely fall in. But even with his speed, I don't know if he goes first or third on Frank Cora.
I'll tell you, it was a good thing I didn't try, but he might not have made it with Frank Cora out there. It would have been a very close fight, but it's the kind of game you got to force runs.
So it's the fourth hit for the Braves, and now Yunel Escobar, who fouled out to Ike Davis's first time up. Escobar 3 for 9 in this series. And he pops one up into shallow right. Frank Cora heading for that low wall again and pulls up short of it to make the grab in foul ground. 2 out.
Like a magnet pulling that ball over there to Frank Cora. Rounds it off here. Makes a nice play. And, of course, the frustration from Escobar has not had a very good series defensively or offensively.
Made an out. Lost a bat. Put it on the wood pile.
It's nice to know he doesn't litter, though, Gary. Very good.
Cleans up after himself. It's lovely. So now 2 out and 2 on for Melky Cabrera, who hit the first fly ball down that right field line that fell for a ground rule double before Frank Cora went flipping over the fence. And Santana starts him off with a changeup for a strike. Getting back to that game at Philly last night, you asked a very interesting question, Ronnie, which is, has a pitcher who's thrown a perfect game ever been the victim of a perfect game? Of course, Halladay threw one earlier this year.
Can you imagine?
That was back in May.
Halladay now has gone 9 innings, 8 times in the first half.
He's a fun guy to watch. And one of the few pitchers in the game these days who's not looking to strike people out and regularly gets outs on 1 and 2 pitches. We saw it in his game against the Mets in Philly earlier this year. Once he got the lead, 1 and 2 pitch outs the rest of the game.
He has the ability to turn off that macho switch and does not want the strikeouts, just wants the low pitch count.
2-1 to Cabrera, and the changeup in the dirt. So all of a sudden, Johan falling behind hitters. He's got the pitcher low on deck, so he's working carefully to Cabrera.
You talk about perfect games. When Galarraga threw that game, it was a perfect game, but the umpire made a bad call at first base. What do you think about that, Ron? Do you think that was that play could have been reversed by the commissioner? I think he should have reversed it.
Davis goes sliding, but can't get to it.
What do you think, that you are in favor of him getting involved?
I think he should have been credited with a perfect game because the call was no question it was a bad call.
It might have gotten him out of being sent down to the minor leagues too, because Galarraga just sent.
He was
down
sent
to AAA.
down, yeah. But Joyce was voted one of the top umpires, and apologized for the bad call, but that wasn't enough.
Runners will get set to take off. 3-2 to Melky Cabrera, and he fouls it away.
Cabrera, who was a stone out earlier in the season, has really turned it around for the Braves offensively. This is a huge situation here for Santana. It's almost like he got into this trouble because he's trying to pitch to save this paltry lead that he has here at 1-0. And sometimes you can pitch yourself into a situation, even if having Lowe up next.
25 pitches this inning after just 35 in the first 3 innings. And he misses high, ball 4, and now the bases are loaded with the pitcher coming up. Second walk of the inning issued by Santana. So I don't know if you characterize that as a pitcher round.
I don't want to say no.
I think he wanted to get Melky. The problem there, though, you don't like to see from Johan, is that when he misses with his changeup and he misses up, that's not a good sign. You'd rather see him bounce the changeup.
So now Lowe, who has 3 runs batted in this year, tried to sacrifice his first time up, and Ike Davis threw out Cabrera at third. So the bases loaded, 2 out, with Santana nursing a 1-0 lead in the 4th.
And the infield is playing back all the way around. The Mets are willing to give up oh, excuse me, that's right, 2 outs. Sorry.
Well, one thing about that, Ralph, though, is the bases loaded has not been a friend to the Mets or Santana this season.
He's already given up 3 grand slams. But now he's ahead on Lowe, 0-2. He struck him out. So Santana gets the strikeout he needs, his 4th of the afternoon, to leave him loaded. 1-0 New York. Skechers shape-ups. That's a shot we don't get often, right over the apple, looking down into the housing. Look at the Acela Club out in left field. It's just a beautiful facility out there. Great place to eat and watch the game.
Big Apple Brews. That's cool.
And there's always traffic out there in that center field concourse. Out across the Shea Bridge.
They're waiting for Davis to hit another one up there.
Yeah. Look at, even the young guys can have their shades on.
Looking very cool on a Sunday afternoon. Last game before the All-Star break. And the youngsters are out in force today. Well, those guys have good seats.
Wow.
Right behind the dugout. That is outstanding.
Be careful, though.
You better believe it. Keep your eyes open.
Well, the Mets have not been 5 games behind since the 23rd of May. In danger of falling 6 back if they lose today, but they've got themselves a 1-0 lead. How about the Phillies, by the way? The last 3 days, extra inning walk-off victories against the Reds. The Phillies had never done that before in their, I mean, they've been around
since the beginning of time.
Forever, right? Jeff Francoeur leads off in the home 4th inning. Derek Lowe struck him out his first time up. And Francoeur takes ball 1.
One thing about those National League East standings, Gary, first place team with the biggest lead, your Atlanta Braves.
It's true. Texas Rangers 4.5 games up. That's the next biggest as Francoeur rips one down the line for his first hit in the series. And he'll get 2 bases out of this one. So Francoeur with his 15th double of the year gets the Mets started in the bottom of the 4th.
And this ball really well hit. Gets a fastball right over the inside part of the plate and drills it where he should, right down the line for the 2-base hit.
Well, you know, Ralph, you knew this was going to be a good matchup for Francoeur. He's a low ball hitter. Lowe loves to throw that sinker.
Yeah, but Lowe also throws a lot of sliders, and that's the one thing that he has trouble with. But he got a good pitch hit there and did what he should.
So Chris Carter will bat. Carter bounced a single through the right side his first time up. Carter playing left field today, despite the fact that it is Jason Bay bobblehead day. Jason's bobblehead. Got one here in the booth. Looks like he's making pretty solid contact.
I will tell you, though, as bobbleheads go, 1, it almost looks like him, and 2, he looks handsome. Most of these bobbleheads are just, the likeness is missing a little bit. This is a good one.
Well, the bobblehead brought to you by Gold's Horseradish, their 10th year of sponsoring bobbleheads with the Mets. Mark Gold, the head of Gold's Horseradish, does a great job. Love their wasabi sauce, by the way.
Right here, the ball should be hit to the right side of the infield to get the runner over to third base. Even if you make the out, it advances the runner in scoring position.
And Carter does just that with the 1 hopper to Prado. So Francoeur over to third, a productive out for Carter, 1 away.
And a well-hit ball, and almost they thought about trying to go for third base, but that would have been a big mistake.
Boy, winning baseball. Don't you love to see these little things? Hit a line drive, but make sure you get it to the right side. Prado thinking of third, but had no play. A nice small ball by the Mets and Carter.
So now the Braves have to bring the infield in with Rod Barajas at the plate. Barajas bounced into a double play his first time up. Looking to bring Francoeur home from third.
The outfield is very shallow against Barajas.
I look at it this way, and I don't know if the Mets are going to run it this way. Even with the infield in, Tejada hitting next, who's been struggling. I like to go on contact here. Anything put on the ground other than back to the pitcher, take a shot with Francoeur.
Well, you have that, and the pitcher coming up next.
And McCann does a nice job blocking that pitch. That saves a run. That was a tough changeup in the dirt.
See the block, turn the glove over. It hits the heel of the glove and ran right up his chest protector. Right off the right shoulder, but he was able to keep it just to his right.
If it went a little further, might have seen the McCann-Francoeur collision at home plate.
I bet on Francoeur.
And Barajas waving at the breaking ball, and it's 1-2. Of course, Francoeur and McCann have been, buddies since they were little leaguers together in Atlanta. And I'm sure there's nothing they'd like more than to come face to face at home plate.
They have something to talk about during the break in Atlanta.
You always want to tussle with your buddy, right?
Of course.
Well, Francoeur was a great football player in Atlanta, too.
1-2 to Barajas, and he pulls one on the ground. Francoeur coming home. The throw by Chipper, and Francoeur slides in, and he's tagged out by McCann.
Well, you got your wish.
Yeah, no collision, though.
Well, that's a nice play by Chipper. Right on that line, interesting enough, on Lowe. That ball was down the line. Good play, good strong throw. throws it over the right shoulder of McCann, and McCann was not going to let Francoeur get near that plate.
Okay, when you're a base runner in that spot, you want to run as where you can try and block the ball and let it hit you in the back. That's the way to do that.
It looked as though McCann was bracing himself for a collision there, which did not come. Francoeur opting to try and slide in instead. Looked like Francoeur was trying his best to get to the inside of the line there.
Well, I think he was just trying to sneak his toe underneath. That was the key for Francoeur, and I think what Ralph said made a lot of sense. Run on the grass. Try to get inside so the ball will hit you in the shoulder.
So now 2 out with Barajas at first, and Tejada fouls one off, 1-1. The hard part is, Ralph, you're taking your lead in foul territory. So how do you maintain your line to the plate? And still do that.
You make your move over to get where you think you can block the throw.
I think the thing there, though, Gary, is that shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, so your lead will be less in foul territory than it would be on that kind of play.
Yeah. Well, the only reason why you want to be in foul territory with a lead is to keep from being hit by the ball in fair territory when you're out. So the foul territory is only self-protection.
That's still struggling with runners in scoring position over these last few games. Derek Lowe trying to escape this inning after giving up the leadoff double to Francoeur. You see Gloss playing behind Barajas, who's no threat to run.
There he goes.
And he's running. And Tejada fouls one off his leg. Well, Barajas had an easy stolen base, but the 2 strikes, Tejada had no choice but to protect the plate.
Actually, it would not have thrown through, so it's really not a stolen base. If the official scorer would say uncontested.
I think Barajas would argue for a stolen base.
Well, he has to because Henry Blanco has one.
That's exactly right.
Chino Cadahia, the bench coach for Bobby Cox. There's Henry.
Well, Gloss playing behind him again. Is he going to run again? Not this time. 2-2.
Well, the problem is if he runs, the odds are not good. They got to ignore him to have him run.
Barajas had 1 steal last year with Toronto. It's his only steal since 2002.
There he goes.
And he's running, and Lowe detects it, and Barajas, no, they call a balk. They call a balk. And so Barajas is safe. No stolen base, though. It'll be a balk called against Lowe.
They said that Lowe did not step off the rubber. You have to step back, disengage from the rubber, and then make the throw to second base. He's going to talk to the second base umpire. Let's see if he did that. Barajas is taking off right now. No, he did not. He kind of lifted his foot but stayed on the rubber.
He stayed on. Yeah.
Really have to push that right foot, disengage from the rubber completely. He did not. And with that speed, Rod Barajas can sometimes get boxed from pitchers.
Well, one thing about that's a good play, no matter what. Get down in scoring position.
So now with a 2-2 count on Tejada. Lowe bounces one, and McCann didn't know where it was for a moment. 3-2 now. So same situation that Santana had in the top of the inning with the pitcher on deck. Lowe's not going to throw anything easy for Tejada to handle.
You know, the only problem you have is the infielder turned outfielder Infante playing probably the deepest right field we've seen against Ruben Tejada.
But you've got Barajas, a very slow runner at second. And ball 4 to Tejada, so Santana will come up with 2 men on.
The home run hitting Santana.
He was an outfielder when he was a young kid playing baseball in Venezuela.
Well, as far as I can recall, there have been only 2 Met pitchers to hit home runs in back-to-back starts. I believe Tom Seaver did it.
Yes, he did.
And I know that you did it.
Yes.
What about Terrell, Walt Terrell?
Well, he had 2 in one game.
Yes.
That's different. But in his last start, Santana had a classic at bat, 12 pitches.
interesting thing about that home run, what's hit the foul ball, is that Gary Cohen called the home run.
Well, not exactly. I said he'd hit one of these days.
Well, that's not bad.
It was Nostradamus-like, Gary. There were no quatrains, but yes, we could read between the lines.
Who did he play for, Nostradamus?
He was in the 1880 group.
Early baseball, yeah.
Low now ahead on Santana, 0-2. And he strikes him out. And the Mets strand 2 in the 4th. So no home runs in that bat. 1-0 Mets after 4. In Fios, call 1-888 get Fios. The G-Man, Mr. G, he's New York's go-to weather guy, giving you the heads up when severe weather is on the way and helping you keep cool when the heat is on. Mr. G's forecast weeknights on the Pix 11 News at 10. Fifth inning, Mets with a 1-0 lead, and the top of the batting order coming up for the Braves. Martin Prado 0 for 2 today, 0 for 10 in this series for the National League's leading hitter. And Santana trying to keep him without a hit. Continues to pour in the first pitch strikes. His last start against the Reds, he faced 34 batters and threw 28 first pitch strikes. And he gets ahead on Prado 0-2.
And he's got to do it because they've only scored 45 runs in his starts this year, 5 runs in his last 5 starts. And you were mentioning his no decisions before, Ralph.
Prado down looking. Beefs with Gary Darling about it. Gary has a little short temper. Watch out, Martin.
It's like, hey, Gary, did you realize I have 121 hits this season? I know what I'm doing. And Bobby Cox is the person that stands up and says for Prado to stop arguing.
You know, Bobby's only been thrown out of 2 games this year. Slipping toward retirement.
This is last year. He wants to see all of them.
One thing about Bobby Cox, he broke a record held by a very famous person. He was a manager also, John McGraw. All-time manager for basically the New York Giants.
Yeah.
Prado cooling down on an 0 for 11 series. Infante, though, has picked up the slack for him. Omar Infante 2 for 2 today, 9 for 12 in the 3 games. Up to 335 on the year. I guess he does deserve to be in the All-Star game.
You know, Ralph, you were mentioning before, talking about the hard luck of Santana. His 7 no decisions, he's gone 50 2/3 innings in those no decisions and given up 7 runs. He wins 4 of those, 5 of those. That's a whole different season.
In the air to right. Francora flips the glasses down. And Infante is finally retired. 2 away. Santana had back-to-back starts on that road trip to Milwaukee and San Diego where he did not allow a run, and the Mets lost both games. I mean, he's 6-5 on the year. He could easily have 11 or 12 wins by now. That is select company.
It's interesting. Jerry mentioned today, and we've seen the Mets come home now and not play their best baseball. He said that the road trip, 17 straight days, and being in Puerto Rico and arriving in Washington, D.C. at 8 o'clock in the morning took more out of his team than he originally thought.
Well, that was not friendly scheduling for the Mets, and the fact that they had a rain delay on a 4-hour game the last night in Puerto Rico didn't help.
Well, the thing is that the Marlins, who also played in Puerto Rico against the Mets, they had a day off the next day.
Yep. Well, the Mets had Santana pitching the next night in Washington, and he was terrific, but everybody else was a little lethargic. Chipper Jones lifts one out to right center. Back in the gap for Francora to call. Side retired. Santana has his second 1-2-3 inning of the day. Halfway through, 1-0 New York. By Verizon Fios. This is Fios. This is big. Santana topping out right about where he's been at 91. Derek Lowe at 89 with his sinker. That's along the top of the batting order up in the bottom of the 5th. Young Met fan looking intently. Where's that foul ball you promised me, Dad?
Don't ever promise the foul ball
Never.
if you're a Pops. Never.
Unless you're going to the game with who's Who's the guy we had?
Oh, yeah, the guy
year?
who's caught 2,200 balls
Zach,
or whatever.
Zach's his name.
Yes.
Yeah. You go to the game with him. You can be pretty sure you'll get a ball. Angel Pagano scored the game's only run. He tripled with 2 out in the third. Alex Cora brought him in. Pagano with his 6th triple of the year to go with 6 home runs. .312 batting average has put him in the top 10 in the league. And he floats one foul, 1-1.
You know, Brian McCann, who when he came up was really offense first, defense second, has turned himself into a good defensive player. And even though he's 6'2", see how low he gets?
Hit hard and past Gloss, a base hit for Pagan. Another 2-hit game for Angel Pagan.
Well, he has hit 2 balls extremely well. The triple, his last time up, and now a hard single to right field. He's a threat to steal second base. McCann with that low target. Remember Benito Santiago?
Yes.
He had the lowest anybody ever had.
Yeah.
He was right on the ground with his whole leg.
Tony Pena.
Pena also,
very low.
yeah.
Pagan now 9 for 16 over the last 4 games. By the way, the guy with the foul balls is Zach Hampel. And I would have had the answer earlier, except that Kevin Burkhardt abandoned us today. He's on the beach.
Oh, he is. He and Rachel and Logan have.
He would have gotten us the answer a lot earlier, so I had to Google it myself.
It's shocking that you can Google that, by the way.
I just put Zach foul balls, and it came right up. Pagan's got 19 steals on the year. He's now tied for 4th in the National League in stolen bases and tied with Reyes for the club lead. It's a measure of how difficult it was for the Mets to score in the first 2 games of this series, that in the 2 games prior to today, Angel had 5 hits, 3 stolen bases, and hadn't scored a run.
Chipper Jones looking for the sacrifice here.
And Cora showing bunt as he takes ball 1.
You know, Lowe is around the plate for the most part. Chipper in at third base. Cora can handle the bat. Pagan with all the speed. Love to see hit and run.
Mm-hmm.
Something the Mets have not done a lot of this year. Which is a little surprising when you think about the personnel that they've got. I mean, you've got some guys who are swing and miss guys, like Bay and Frank Cora, but you don't have a lot of them.
I think certain managers just have a way of doing things, and I think the hit and run is not Jerry's way.
Well, the hit and run was a big play years ago. It's not a big play now. And
but
that really came with a home run.
But you'd think it would be coming back with the home runs down.
I think it's a great play. You got to have players that can make contact with the.
And look at that, hit and run. And out at second, out at first. Close play at second base, but Prado able to flip it to Escobar just in time. And they turn the double play despite the hit and run.
Well, Cora really hit this ball, and that's one thing about managers. They can put the play on. It's a good play to put on. And when you hit a ball like that, there's nothing you can do with it. Other than make the double play, and they say, "Why the heck did he do that?" But that's a good play no matter what.
Very close play at second base, and Escobar elevating.
Those are the kind of plays you see Escobar make that really irritate you when you see less than that kind of exemplary talent. Great athleticism.
By the way, he had plenty of time to come down after that leap and still get Cora at first base.
Well, you can't get in the top 10, though, Gary, if you don't do it that way.
That's an excellent point.
That's the equivalent of the slam dunk for a baseball player.
Wright is 1 for 2. He's flied out and single to left. And that one goes to the backstop, 1-1.
Well, we saw this play earlier couple seasons ago with Ryan Church. Remember, he went hard into the shortstop of Escobar, who hit him with his knee into Church's head, part of the concussion problem for Ryan.
The only play I remember about Church is when he failed to touch third base at Dodger Stadium.
But you're right, it was Escobar on that play. It was the last out of the game, wasn't it?
Yes.
3-1 now to right down in Atlanta.
Remind me of Homer, the pet dog they had that they trained to run the bases, and he cut across and didn't touch second. He went from first to third, straight across over the pitcher's mound, which you can't do even if you're a dog. According to the pitcher, that what was the name of that pitcher that very sick about the fact that
Dallas Braden.
Yeah, right. And he pitched a no-hitter after that. Yeah.
Maybe Jimmy Pearsall taught him how to run the bases.
Well, Pearsall hit a home run on Dallas Green and ran the bases backward. And Casey Siegel released him in the state and said there's not room for two clowns in this ballpark.
You know what, to me, is the most amazing part of that story? Knowing Dallas Green as I know him, that Dallas didn't slug him.
That he didn't tackle him.
Well, Dallas was tough.
Yeah.
Later on became, after manager, a general manager.
Line to short, Escobar puts it away. So Escobar with a fancy fielding inning as the Braves turn a double play despite the hit and run, as Escobar goes airborne. We're through 5, 1-0 Mets. Better breakfast at Subway. 3 days off for the All-Star break after today. Mets are back in action Thursday night in San Francisco with R.A. Dickey on the mound and Carlos Beltran in the lineup and hitting cleanup. A brand new start to the season for the Mets on Thursday night. Troy Glaus leads off in the 6th inning and hits the first pitch to deep center field, sending Pagan back in front of the warning track to grab it. 1 pitch and 1 out for Santana in the 6th inning. Well, it's the last day before the All-Star break, and that means the bullpen is a little more crowded than usual. There's Chris Medlin, normally a starting pitcher, warming up for the Braves.
He's replaced Kawakami in the rotation, but he pitched out of the bullpen for parts of 2 different seasons. So that would be the natural choice.
Brian McCann, the batter, and he takes a strike. Meanwhile, over in the Mets bullpen, Jonathan Neese is doing some work.
Now, what I would have to say about Neese is that once they got past a certain part of the game, once they got past the 5th inning, then they probably called down and said, Jonathan, get your work in because you're going to pitch. What's he pitching? Friday night's game? Saturday?
He's pitching Friday.
Friday night's game after R.A. Dickey.
And it might be the same thing with Medlin. He might also be getting his work in once the starter got past that long relief stage. 0-2 to McCann, and he just fouls off the fastball. McCann has struck out and walked today, 0 for 1. Well, Santana's now strung up 14 consecutive scoreless innings through the complete game shutout against the Reds. And now 5 scoreless today. Had one tough inning in the 4th when he had to work out of a bases loaded jam. But since moving his hands down to his belt and presumably not tipping his changeup the way he was, he has completely turned his season back in the right direction.
You know, the interesting thing about that, now you saw him right there with his bare hand was moving around inside the glove.
Yeah.
Is that the way he tips it off? I don't know.
Well, as long as he has the same movement every time, then you're fine.
Then you're okay. Or you can change it and vary it.
Davis makes the play for the second out. But when he had the hands up high, it was a more defiant pose, and he really liked that.
Yeah.
And in fact, he went back to it after they had advised him to move his hands down, but the results weren't there, and he finally bought into the fact that he needed to make that adjustment.
Well, it was part of his aggressive style, and he's also done it his entire career. To tell you about a thing on tipping off pitches, first spring training game I ever pitched for the Texas Rangers, 3 scoreless, strikeout 4 or 5. So excited about my outing. Come to the bench after my 3 innings of work. Don Zimmer calls me over, and I'm like, thinking the manager's going to pat me on the back, say, hey, way to go, kid. He goes, hey, you tip off your curveball all the time. Your finger sticks out of the glove. Like, okay. no, good job.
But you want somebody like that on your team.
Yeah,
it picks that up.
Absolutely.
And it should be picked up by your own teammates or your own manager or your own coaches.
Took him 1 inning?
1 inning. And the thing about that is they got all the videotape. You can watch somebody pitch every game.
Yep.
Every inning.
Davis to the barrier. And plays the carom. And makes a friend. He does it all.
He does.
Who was the guy that gave the ball to the kid in the stands and it wasn't the final out of the inning?
Benny Agbayani.
Yeah, he did that. That was right. Larry Walker was the guy. He reached in and tried to get the ball back. I remember that.
Diaz lifts one down the line. And Frank Core over to take a look as it sails out of play.
In fact, he did get the ball back, and he threw it to third base.
Yeah. Didn't work.
Walker was also a guy who would go over and take somebody's popcorn.
That's right.
At the end of the inning.
I'll tell you, he was really a good ball player.
Oh, 2 to Diaz, and he lines one into left field. So
he's amazing.
Frank Core, Santana had been working him away. Finally comes inside, and Diaz has his second hit of the game.
Isn't that funny how one guy could wear out a good pitcher? Tommy Hutton used to wear out Tom Seaver. He would hit him like it was his cousin. And he was a good hitter, but he wasn't that good.
Was there any explanation to it, or just sometimes you're just lucky against
He just figured it out.
Yeah.
You know, it just happened.
Diaz now 14 for 26 against Johan Santana. That seems like it should be impossible.
It pretty is.
Now Escobar with the tying run at first and 2 out. 5 hits now off Johan.
I did that against a guy named Doral Lee that pitched for the Cubs. Everything he threw, I guessed right.
Yeah.
Guessing, or could you just?
Well,
see
I didn't call it guessing. I called it anticipation.
Here comes Ike to the railing. Just a bit too far. You know, after those 3 flipping catches that he made in short order soon after he came up, it's almost as though every time that ball goes near the dugout, you expect him to make another spectacular play.
And it's almost like the coaches have worked on a play. They form a single wing when he gets over there to make sure that he doesn't go over the railing.
Escobar is 0 for 2. And he tries to hold, and he went around. And a 2-strike count. Short lead for Diaz.
I was going to say that's really a big lead, isn't it?
Escobar pops one up, and Tejada has the call. And the inning is over. 15 consecutive scoreless innings for Johan Santana. At a 1-0 Met lead in the middle of the 6th. Today.
I can't even remember my kids when they were that little.
They remember you.
So cute.
Visit the official online shop of the Mets at Mets.com. Browse the largest selection of official gear, including the latest apparel, nostalgic memorabilia, and authentic classics for the whole family. Get your gear from the official source, the Mets.com shop. Accept no substitutes. Home 6th inning, Ike Davis leads off against Derek Lowe, who's allowed 1 run and 6 hits, and that right now is enough to have him behind in the game. Davis has walked and struck out today, 0 for 1. It'll be Davis, Francoeur, and Carter for the Mets here in the 6th.
His dad was really a good setup man for the Yankees.
Derek Lowe at one time a relief pitcher, but has been starting games since his Red Sox days. Davis hits one well to center field. Cabrera goes back, takes a look, and it's out of here. A long home run off the bat of Ike Davis, and the Mets now have a 2-0 lead. Number 11 for Ike Davis. Is it just me, or does everyone that he hits go a little further than you expect?
Yeah, he's got some sick power.
Well, one thing about him, Keith Hernandez ought to watch this. They ought to have Keith making watch this. Look at the arc in the swing. Look at that. And Keith says swing level. I mean, that's really a great home run swing.
That's a 450-foot blast.
At least that, yeah. As far as he hit 2 of those in right field, right center. Now this one to left center.
He almost got that ball into that corner of that second deck.
Yeah.
The only guy we've seen hit one in that neighborhood was Mark Reynolds with the Diamondbacks last year.
I mean, how many times do you see on the ball field here a center fielder barely turn around and run after the baseball? Never.
Not in this yard.
Well, not unless the guy's a real home run hitter. Babe Ruth turned a lot of outfielders around.
Francoeur pops one up. And Chipper Jones puts it away. 1 out.
I'll tell you, one person breathing a sigh of relief is Johan Santana. That is a huge run. When you're protecting a 1-0 lead, you can't make any mistakes at all. 2-0 opens it up just a tiny bit.
Well, the same thing happened in Santana's last start. He had the 1-0 lead for the longest time after his home run, and then Jason Bay drove in a couple with a 6th-inning single to make it 3-0. Here's Chris Carter taking ball 1. Carter 1 for 2. He's singled and grounded out. Well, Beltran's coming back on Thursday. His rehab stint is over, but the rehab assignment for Oliver Perez continued today in Buffalo. Here's the good news for Ollie today. 5 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, none earned. Here's the bad news. 5 walks in 5 innings, 100 pitches, 52 strikes, and 2 wild pitches.
Things have not changed for him at all.
Well, Ollie is due to have at least 1 more start on his rehab assignment. And what happens after that? It's really hard to tell. As of now, Isanori Takahashi is penciled in as the 5th starter coming out of the All-Star break.
But you had to be impressed with his work out of the bullpen again yesterday with 3 shutout innings. He is so valuable for this club out of the bullpen.
Well, we've seen it in his starts. That first time around the batting order, he generally befuddles teams, and then it gets a little tougher the second and third time around.
Well, Jerry Manuel is always looking for what he calls his 8th-inning pitcher. He hasn't got one yet.
They've certainly gone through a few options this year.
He's tried everything in the world to do that.
Carter takes one the other way, and Chris had his 2nd hit of the day. So a 1-out single for Carter. And the Mets have their 8th hit off low.
The question is going to be whether or not he is the one that goes down to the minor leagues.
That was a nice at-bat, though. Did you see him choke up on the bat and just hit the ball to left field?
Carter leaves for a pinch runner. That will get a better defensive player in the game as Jesus Feliciano comes on to run for him. So Carter has a 2-for-3 afternoon, takes his exit, and Derek Lowe might be taking his as well as Bobby Cox heads out to the mound. And he'll take the baseball, and that'll be all for Lowe. Peter Moylan, the side-arming right-hander, will come on. The call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon, the network with the most 3G coverage. Mets have a 2-0 lead in the 6th. Moylan coming on. We'll be right back. Derek Lowe exiting after 5 1/3 innings. Not pleased and takes it out on the Gatorade cooler. Makes a big mess on the floor of the dugout and then takes his exit. The call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon, the network with the most 3G coverage, and the side-arming right-hander Peter Moylan appears for the first time in the series to face Rod Barajas with Feliciano, the pinch runner, at first and 1 out. They have cleaned up a good part of the mess, shoved a lot of the ice underneath the bench.
I saw a pitcher once do that with a Gatorade bucket and hit one of the veteran players and had him pick up the Gatorade bucket and throw it at him as he was leaving.
Wow.
A lot of players have broken their hand and broken their toes kicking those buckets.
Barajas out to center field, but right at Melky Cabrera for the second out. And back to first Feliciano.
At least in football, when they make a mess with the Gatorade, it's because they're celebrating a win.
And the coach is the only one that gets it.
Here's another for Peter Moylan. ERA under 3. But you see the left-handed hitters have really feasted on Peter this year. 323 average as the submarining Australian has been one of the keys of this bullpen. A dependable right-handed pitcher to come in and usually get the ground ball.
Well, we have seen the back end of the Braves bullpen in this series. Saito and Venters setting up for Wagner. They have been just about untouchable. And the pitch out almost went over the plate. And Feliciano going nowhere. But I think the revelation among that group is Johnny Venters.
Yeah.
Boy, has he been good.
He throws 95 miles an hour, and I know that Billy Wagner has said that he has never seen a left-hander throw a 95-mile-an-hour sinker, but Venters does.
The other way, and Tejada has a base hit. Feliciano will go first to third. And the Mets have runners at the corners with 2 down for Santana. So Tejada just his second hit in his last 24 at-bats.
Oh, nice job, Ralph, of inside outing that little sinking fastball.
And good base running, going first to third. That's one of the things that you don't see a lot of anymore in baseball.
So Santana gets another crack at 2 out and 2 on in the 4th, and Lowe struck him out. Now facing Moylan with first and third and 2 out. And takes a strike as he was jumping back.
Well, Santana, despite the home run in his last game, you have to respect his speed. He's the 2 outs. He's wily as a cat. He could lay one down and try to use the speed to beat it out. Feliciano, of course, could score.
Tejada running, and they'll ignore him, and he'll steal second. First major league stolen base for Ruben Tejada. A gimme, but it's still a stolen base. So 2 ducks on the pond now. And Santana grounds one down to first. Kloss makes the backhand play, and the inning comes to an end. Ike Davis's home run makes it 2-0. And Ralph Kiner, it's your All-Star break now.
All right, yeah. It's going to be a lovely 3 days off, and then I have another 15 after that.
We should all be so fortunate. Very nice.
Enjoy your break. We'll see you soon. The sign commemorating the memory of the ballpark now passed. Today's line score brought to you by freescore.com. Life costs more without free score. And what that line score tells you is that the Mets, who are desperately in search of a victory today, have had their ace step up big time. Johan Santana, who pitched the second to last game in the history of Shea Stadium, has put together extraordinary back-to-back efforts here at Citi Field.
Kind of the same kind of variety that this game was, a 3-hit shutout that day.
Melky Cabrera has doubled and walked today. The number 8 hitter, Brooks Conrad, out on deck to pinch hit. And Melky takes ball 3. So first time today that Santana has fallen behind 3-0. Here's Conrad, the switch hitter, on deck. Then Martin Prado for the Braves here in the 7th. The 94th pitch of the day for Santana, who went 9 in his last start, pitching on normal rest today. Into the 7th. And Cabrera lifts one to right center, and Pagan with a good jump over in the gap to make it look easy. One away.
What's beautiful about that, because of the home run hit by Ike Davis, that 3-0 count, he threw 2 balls right down the middle because he had the extra run and got it out on Cabrera's bat.
Santana allowed just 1 run in that start against the Nationals. It came in his last inning in that game. He had pitched 6 shutout innings before that. So he's now allowed 1 run in 22 1/3 innings. So here's Conrad, the pinch hitter, and tries to hold and 1 around. Conrad struck out his first time up. You know, as you look ahead to the second half of the season, the Mets are going to begin with an 11-game road trip, taking them to San Francisco and Arizona and L.A. One thing that certainly works in the Mets' favor as you look ahead to the second half, they have not yet played the Diamondbacks, they've not yet played the Pirates, and they've not yet played the Astros, unquestionably the 3 worst teams in the National League. Mets are going to have 20 games against those 3 teams, 20 of their 74 after the All-Star break. Now, on the other hand, the Braves have played 16 games against those 3 teams and gone 12-4.
Well, you can make the argument that they've padded their first place lead because of playing those teams, so the Mets will have the same opportunity. As Bobby goes for the wet towel behind the neck.
2-2 to Conrad, swinging a foul back. So while the Mets have at least what look like some winnable games on their schedule, the contending team with the toughest schedule in the second half might be the Dodgers. They have the most games against winning teams. Meanwhile, in that National League West, here come the Rockies again. 6 straight wins and now just a game out of first place, and doing that without their best player, Troy Tulowitzki. 3-2 to Conrad, foul back. Of course, Santana has had a history of kicking it in gear in second halves of seasons. Looks like he's starting a little early.
But I think it really starts with this road trip. It's an 11-game road trip, and the Mets have not proven they can play on the road yet. 18-24. And facing some tough teams, both the Dodgers and the Giants. Just wonderful pitching staffs.
Ball 4, and Conrad works out a 1-out walk. 3rd walk given up by Santana, who walked 3 in his last start. And we focused a lot on the division race, rightly so. Mets are 5 behind the Braves going into the day. We haven't talked at all about the wild card. If the season ended today, the Rockies lead the wild card race by a game over the Dodgers and 2 games over the Mets. So it's going to be a very interesting second half, and who knows if the Mets are going to have fortifications with less than 3 weeks to go till the trading deadline. They will get 1 fortification back Thursday, though, that they know, with Beltran's return. Prado pops one up, and his unproductive series continues. Prado now 0 for 12 in this 3-game series. The National League's leading hitter has yet to scratch in the 3 games. And there are the wild card standings right now. A very crowded field. And there are so many questions to be answered in the second half. After all, you look at the 3 division leaders in the National League, none was anticipated. I mean, you go back to preseason prognostications, Atlanta, Cincinnati, and San Diego were not predicted to be in these spots. Infante fouls one back.
Well, in fact, I think if all those 3 teams, Atlanta had the best opportunity. You thought maybe with their pitching staff that they would, and the addition of Hayward, their young rookie phenom, that they would have a good team. But certainly Cincinnati and San Diego were considered second division clubs.
To me, the team that looks the most vulnerable is the Padres, because they have a wonderful pitching staff, but it's hard to believe that they're going to have enough offense to get them through.
Adrian Gonzalez would have to have a 1967 Carl Yastrzemski year for them to win it.
And the other question about San Diego, are they capable financially of adding the kind of piece that would make them a substantially better offensive team? They've certainly got excess pitching to trade if they want to make that kind of a deal. Infante 2 for 3 today, 9 for 13 in this series. And he hits one toward the middle. Tejada with a nice diving stop. Gets up and throws him out. Big play by Ruben Tejada. Santana loves it. 7 scoreless today for Johan. 16 consecutive shutout innings for Santana with help from Ruben Tejada. The rookie makes a Reyes-like play going up the middle. 7th inning stretch time, 2-0 New York. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'. Are you doing it? More and more New Yorkers are starting their days with the Pix 11 Morning News. Weather, traffic, and all the news you need. The Pix 11 Morning News, weekdays 4:30 to 9 a.m. Isn't it time you did it too? Well, Santana's thrown 107 pitches through 7 innings, coming off a complete game his last time out, and it looks like he's not going to get to pitch the 8th.
You know, he's not pitching for a week, so I thought they would push him through the 8th inning, but Jerry Manuel looks like he's going to take him out.
It would seem as though if there were any start where you're going to push a guy a little further, this might be it.
Well, all season long they've talked about how they're trying to find someone for the 8th inning. I don't know. I'd throw 57 out there personally. But great effort by Johan today.
Braves will have the heart of the batting order coming up in the 8th. Meanwhile, the Mets will try and add to their lead against Chris Medlin. Not often these days that you see a starting pitcher work in the bullpen on that final day before the All-Star break, but here the Braves are doing just that.
Well, it's a nice thing to see, and honestly, 13 games in relief, 11 starts. He has been kind of their R.A. Dickey this season. 6-1 record. He's been outstanding. When you watch him throw, he's not a very tall right-hander, but he has all the pitches. Fastball, curveball, slider, change, and he throws strikes.
By not very tall, you mean short?
I don't like to use that word.
Well, he's 5'9".
Yeah, we stay away from those words.
I mean, I give him credit for that. There are very few right-handed pitchers of this stature who you ever see in the major leagues.
You're so right. I mean, there's a lot of guys that have been kept in minor leagues because the computer doesn't spit out the 6'5", 225-pound right-handed pitcher. But this young man he can get outs.
Top of the batting order for New York in the home 7th inning. Angel Pagan already 2 for 3 today, a single and a triple. And he takes a strike from Medlin, who always seems to throw strikes. Derek Lowe went the first 5 1/3, allowed 2 runs, 8 hits. Peter Moylan got a couple of outs, gave up a hit in the 6th. And the changeup low and away, 1-1. Angel Pagan has had himself quite an afternoon. Tripled and scored the first run in the 3rd. Single leading off the 5th. He's played some fine defense as well. And a good changeup by Medlin, 1-2.
If we've had one phrase we've used the most in the first half, it's been Angel Pagan has had a very good game.
Well, he's had a very good season, and I think there's no other way to express it. On the inside corner, and Pagan down looking. Well, that's what Chris Medlin will do to you. Set you up with changeup, strike you out with a fastball. That's the first out.
This is the one that starts right at your hip, and it sinks back over the middle of the plate, catches all that plate, and the nod of the head of Pagan. Yeah, that's a perfect pitch.
Chris Medlin came up with the Braves last year, and he has really established himself this year to the point where when Jair Jurgens came back from the disabled list, they kept Medlin in the rotation and kicked Kenshin Kawakami to the bullpen. Turned into kind of a no-brainer with Kawakami 0-9 on the year. Interestingly enough, Kawakami, who had not been pitching as horribly as his 0-9 record would indicate, has become a forgotten man for the Braves. He's not been in a game since they moved into the bullpen. Cora takes one the other way, but right at Matt Diaz for the second out. So Medlin's retired the first 2. And David Wright will come up with the bases empty. Wright is 1 for 3 on the day, a 3rd inning single. 0 for 5 in his career against Chris Medlin. Bobby Parnell getting ready to pitch the 8th inning for New York, with Chipper Jones set to lead off for the Braves. Medlin falls behind 2-0. Well, Santana has reason to be happy. 2 straight starts in which he is not allowed to run.
And Dan Worthen should be proud of how the hard work that he's used to, I don't know, be almost a salesman. That the great Santana has done so many fine things, had to change his ways, and it's turned the season completely around. The relationship between pitcher and catcher is unlike any other in baseball,
or really any sport. Maybe center and quarterback.
Yeah.
Ball 4, and David's on with a 2-out walk. So Medlin issues a rare walk for him, and now he'll have to face Ike Davis, who hit a bomb of a home run his last time up. You know, just when Davis looks like he's kind of running on fumes, he's made a couple of fine plays in the field today and hits one out of sight. I mean, he has got scary power.
He does. And as he gets more and more experience, you know, when you watch Ike hit, you know, if you had to critique his approach, is that at some point he will have better pitch recognition. He won't swing so many pitches out of the strike zone. And once he starts centering a lot of those pitches, it's going to be he's going to have scary power. You know, what was you said Swoboda had 15 at the break his rookie year. Well, 11 now here for Ike Davis, and he didn't even start the season with the team.
One of those 11 was against Chris Medlin earlier this season. Yeah, the changeup blown away. The video recap brought to you by BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
He has that thing you can't teach. When he hits the ball correctly, he has that kind of backspin on the baseball that just carries it out of sight.
Right, with 15 steals on the year. Medlin last year made 4 starts for the Braves, otherwise worked out of the bullpen. Guy who had been a relief pitcher for the first 2 years of his minor league career, and then they made him a starter. Usually it goes the other way around. Davis has another base hit. Wright pulls in at second. So Ike Davis with his second hit of the afternoon. The Mets' 10th hit of the game.
When the ball is in the strike zone, Ike has as good a swing as you'll see in the game. Really stays on the pitch. Like we said before, he's just going to have to lay off those pitches that are in the dirt. Easier said than done, of course.
But that's the education of a young hitter.
It's something that you know he's going to be able to fix just because he's a smart hitter. I also think he has the personality to shrug off bad games or bad days.
And in some ways, it almost works in his favor that he's hitting in the middle of the batting order where he's got good hitters hitting behind him. And instead of, you know, nurturing a guy in the 7 hole where you've got the 8 and 9 hitters sitting behind you, gives you a little better chance of getting something to hit. Here's Frank Cora's 1 for 3 on the day. Ripped a double to left back in the 4th. Jeff is 1 for 10 in this series. Batting here with 2 out and 2 on, looking to expand on a 2-0 lead. And it's right to Prado, who makes the play on Frank Cora to end the inning. 7 in the books now at Citi Field. 2-0 New York. Time Life Music. Stay tuned after today's game for Pure Rhythm and Blues, the definitive collection of R&B classics. A very important inning coming up for young Bobby Parnell as he takes the mound for the 8th, trying to get the Mets into the All-Star break with a win.
This is important for the Mets. A real important game for the Mets, and that Jerry Manuel chose Bobby Parnell to pitch this all-important game in the 8th inning tells you who he wants to be the 8th inning man after the All-Star break. He's given up 4 hits, though, his last inning in the 3rd.
Pitched the Friday night game, pitched the 8th inning, gave up a bunt single. He'll face the heart of the batting order here. Chipper Jones leading off in the 8th. And Chipper takes the backdoor breaking ball for a strike. Interesting. Haven't seen Parnell do much of that.
That is a beautiful pitch to watch because that'll be an automatic strike every time he comes in because of his ability to throw 95 miles an hour.
Chipper's 0 for 3 today. And he swings and misses. 2 straight sliders from Parnell, and it's 0-2. So a little different game plan for Parnell, who has come out throwing BBs since coming up from Buffalo.
Got to bounce this one, though, if you're throwing 3 in a row.
Chipper pulls it right over the bag, a foul ball. Well, we said the other night that we had not seen Ike make the diving play going toward the line. He did it there, although that one didn't count.
Well, playing right on the line, went a long distance, never taking anything for granted, and makes the play from his backside. You'll see a lot of first basemen that in that situation assume that ball is going to be foul. We've seen it happen recently in the last couple of seasons, but always play that one out just in case the umpire misses it.
Well, Ike has had himself a fine game today, getting ready for his 3-day holiday. So Barajas say, get that fastball up. Up and out of the strike zone, 1-2.
That pitch up, I like it better in on Chipper, only because you can hit that ball up and out over the plate to left field. Going back with the slider.
So Chipper's worked his way back into the at-bat. Met fans always happy to see Chipper not the tying run in a late inning situation. That's what made that great play by Tejada so huge to end the 7th. Two from Parnell, and he struck him out with a slider. Well, Bobby Parnell using his breaking ball, something we haven't seen a lot of, but he took down Chipper Jones.
How about the young reliever having a game plan when he came into this game that he was going to feature breaking balls to Chipper Jones, who was an outstanding fastball hitter. Chipper trying to cheat a little bit, gets caught.
We'll see what he does now against Troy Gloss, who was 0 for 3 today. Twice his fly to center and struck out.
And this is just the opposite here. Gloss is a good breaking ball hitter. Slider speed bat. You want to use your fastball.
And the fastball away for ball 1. How much of that do you think is Parnell, and how much of that is Rod Barajas?
I think it's Rod Barajas / Dan Worthen's book on the hitters.
Staying with the fastball. And Parnell dents the corner, 1-1.
This is a staff, for the most part, with the veteran catchers. Now, I don't know how it's going to be when Tolley catches, but really, the imprinted game plan of Dan Worthen is etched in both these veteran catchers, Blanco and Barajas' brain, and they use it during the game.
What's Barajas motioning? Do you need a new glove? Out to right center field. Frank Core back in the gap, and he's there to run it down to retire Gloss 2 away. And it looks like Barajas does have an equipment issue here. He's signaling to the dugout he needed a new one.
Well, just don't get the R.A. Dickey back.
No.
Go with the good cushion.
I think Barajas is, for the moment anyway, done with Dickey and that old black glove. Tolley's gotten the last couple of starts behind the plate with Dickey.
Well, when you throw 97 miles an hour, you can dent that glove.
Barajas is still trying to break in that new knuckleball glove that has been sitting around the clubhouse the last few weeks. So 2 out, and now Brian McCann, who's 0 for 2 and a walk. And a swing and a miss to the slider, 0-1. Very impressive by Parnell. Against a hitter who has had some success against Bobby, 3 for 5 with a home run. And McCann fouls it away, and now Parnell ahead 0-2.
Just starting him out with that simple slider for a strike gets him off that 97-mile-an-hour fastball. Just outstanding pitching.
Fastball and get it up. This is inside, 1-2. Santana went 7, allowed no runs and 5 hits, 16 consecutive scoreless for Johan. Parnell trying to negotiate the 8th. 1-2. Breaking ball past the mound. Cora's there to play it against the slow-footed McCann. And a beautiful 1-2-3 inning against the heart of the batting order for Bobby Parnell. 2-0 New York. Freescore.com. Life costs more without free score. Here's your out-of-town scoreboard brought to you by Wachovia, Wells Fargo Company. The Phillies trying to sweep a 4-game series from the Reds and lead it 1-0 in the 8th. The Giants lead the Nationals. Adam Dunn has just been raging hot, but not enough for the Nats today. St. Louis leading Houston after getting beat by Brett Myers and the Astros last night. Pirates and Brewers turn the page. San Diego trying to hold off Colorado. A Rockies win would tie them for first place with the Padres at the All-Star break. Jesus Feliciano up for the first time as we start the bottom of the 8th with Takashi Saito on the mound for the Braves.
Well, Saito was the Dodgers closer for many years, went to the Red Sox last season, was a bullpen mate of Billy Wagner late in the season, and now they're bullpen mates here in Atlanta.
Feliciano came on as a pinch runner in the 6th inning. Stayed in the game in left field. Ron Barajas and Ruben Tejada to follow for the Mets here in the last of the 8th. Before handing it over to K-Rod for the 9th. 1-2 to Feliciano. And Saito's 1-2. Hit toward the hole, base hit. So Jesus Feliciano gets the Mets started. with a leadoff single in the bottom of the 8th.
Well, nice production from the 6th slot today for the New York Mets. A couple of hits from Chris Carter. And now Feliciano, who was a pinch running replacement, defensive replacement for Chris, now gets his own knock.
If Rod Barajas is 0 for 3. While we have a moment, everybody connected with the Mets and Pix 11 wants to pass along all of their best to Sally Mathis. Sally, we hope you're doing well. Get well soon. Barajas, the only Met regular without a hit today. 0 for 3. And up there to bunt. And pushes a nice one. Saito makes the play. So Barajas is rarely asked to bunt. Does it effectively. 1-3 on the sack, moving Feliciano to second.
Well, who would know that Rod Barajas would be one of the best Met bunters? He looked like that was simple for him to push that bunt to the right side, as he's getting a lot of laughs and guffaws from his teammates. Even the manager's laughing. But you do what you got to do. Not scoring a lot of runs, just trying to scrape by one more.
I think what they wanted to know in the dugout is what would have happened if he'd gotten it past the pitcher.
Yes.
Would he have been able to beat it out? So a runner in scoring position for Ruben Tejada, who takes a rip. Tejada had a base hit to right field his last time up, just his second hit in his last 24 at bats. And trying to pick up Feliciano from second base. Just so you know, Barajas had 3 sacrifice bunts last year, but that's his first as a Met. In fact, if you go back far enough in Rod's career, he had 8 sacrifices in one season with Texas in 2004.
In Texas, of all places.
You didn't think they ever bunted in the American League, did you? By the way, speaking of Texas, complete game for Cliff Lee in his debut, but
that was the good news.
A loss to the Orioles.
Gave up 3 home runs also.
6 runs and 9 hits. But here's the better news for Texas. 14,300 tickets sold the day of the game. Once it was announced that Lee was going to start. There's pennant fever in Arlington. What's going to happen when the Cowboys start practicing? They're still going to be paying attention? 2-1 to Tejada. And the breaking ball down. McCann has to find it at his feet. 3-1.
Well, it's always interesting there because, you know, really, it's a team that's been based on offensive numbers that tend to tire once that weather cracks 100 for 50 days in a row. But Cliff Lee is going to be a great addition to that team.
He's going to keep throwing complete games in the heat. We'll see. Josh Tolley out on deck to pinch hit for New York.
It's like Arizona, Gary. It's a dry heat.
Not really. Well, we're going to Arizona next week. It's only supposed to be 107.
Great.
3-2 now to Tejada. Let's see, we're going to go from 60 degrees in San Francisco to 107 in Arizona. Right. And then 72 in L.A. Because it's always 72 in L.A. Saito's 3-2, and Tejada hits the one hopper down to Gloss for the second out. Moving over to third, Feliciano. Next week, the Amazings head to San Fran to take on Pablo Kung Fu Panda Sandoval and the stingy Giants pitching staff. Don't miss the action. Mets Giants next Sunday at 4 p.m. on Pix 11. Final game before the All-Star break. Mets with a 2-0 lead in the 8th, and now Josh Tolley will pinch hit, trying to pick up an insurance run with Feliciano at third and 2 out. Tolley was announced as a pinch hitter in the game yesterday, but did not bat. They brought in a lefty, and Jerry switched off to Nick Evans. Tolley was asked to bunt on Friday night in the 6th inning of the game. Wound up 1 for 3 in that game. Asked to get a base hit here. And he's been pretty adept at that, hitting at .500.
Well, that was with runners on first and second. The Braves employed the wheel play, and it cost Josh a sacrifice as they made the play at third base. Joey talked about that after the game and said we're going to have to let him know that if they are using the wheel, he's going to have to swing the bat.
And Josh said after the game that he was aware of that, but didn't see the shortstop break. He was just so locked in. He had given away the bunt and didn't feel as though he could make that adjustment in time.
I do have to say that Escobar did a nice job of disguising it. Played about halfway and then held it as long as he could till he moved.
That's just 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position today. And Saito misses down 1-2.
Boy, that ball almost got underneath McCann. That would be a cardinal sin here in this ball game to let a ball get past you.
Last 4 games now, the Mets are 2 for 35 with runners in scoring position. They have 11 hits today. They've scratched out just 2 runs. One of them on a 450-foot bomb by Ike Davis. That was more than a scratch. And Tolley watches wide. Saito thought he might get the call. 2-2.
Well, that's going to have to change because once they get to San Francisco, then they have to make the most of somewhat stingy chances you usually get against that pitching staff.
Two-two to Tolley. And the breaking ball fouled off. He has shown a penchant for staying in at bats, fouling off tough pitches. Saw him do it against Steven Strasburg in Washington. I think that really opened everybody's eyes to what Josh is capable of.
Well, he's a fine offensive player. He fits this lineup nicely because he's a guy who gets on base. He works the starting pitcher, works the pitch count.
It's going to be interesting to see with the Mets roster composition going forward whether they're going to continue to carry the 3 catchers. Well, certainly having Tolley available not only to catch, once or twice a week, but also to pinch hit, it's a nice luxury.
And I think one of the things that is working in his corner is that he's developed a relationship brought from AAA that he can catch R.A. Dickey.
Henry Blanco has played very little of late.
But every time Henry plays, he does a fine job himself. So a lot of questions to be answered.
Breaking ball outside, ball 3. So Tolley's seen 8 pitches in this at bat and still going. He was behind 0-2. Now he's worked it full with Pagan having another good day at the plate, waiting on deck. So Saito getting more than he bargained for against Josh Tolley. The 3-2. The curveball ripped into right field, a base hit, and Tolley comes through again. Feliciano is home, and it's 3-0 New York. What a run of fine at bats we have seen from young Josh Tolley.
Well, what kind of player do you covet to put on your team for the second half? Someone whose lasting impression or last impression is a 9-pitch at bat with a single to right field to score the 3rd run.
It's hard to get sent to the minors when you're hitting over 500. So there's a hit with a runner in scoring position, a rare commodity for the Mets the last few days. And another run for K-Rod to play with in the 9th inning. Pagan today is 2 for 4, a single and a triple. He scored the first Met run back in the 3rd. Then Davis hit the home run in the 6th, and now Tolley's pinch single has brought home a run in the 8th. Up the middle, base hit for Pagan, his 3rd of the day. Talk about lasting impressions. He has made one day after day after day. The last 4 days, Angel Pagan is 10 for 18.
10 for 18, does not give up at bats. And if you watch his stroke, this is a guy that after he hits a triple just goes right back to that short stroke, hitting ground balls and line drives.
There comes a point in a player's career, sometimes it comes earlier and sometimes it comes later, where he just seems to figure things out. And that time has come this year for Angel Pagan.
The proverbial light bulb goes on.
Alex Cora 1 for 4, singled home a run back in the third. When you think about the arc of Angel Pagan's professional career, signed with the Mets back in 1999, started his professional career in 2000. Spent 5 years in the Mets farm system before the Cubs got him in a cash deal. The Mets just, for whatever reason, decided that he did not fit with their plans. He went up and down between the Cubs and AAA for a couple of years, never got to play a whole lot. The Mets got him back in a minor league deal, and he spent a couple of years here, one where he was playing well till he got hurt in 2008 when he dove into the stands in LA. His Cora lines went out to left, and then last year really getting a chance to play for the first time, learned how to play and use those lessons well. And here he is having a remarkable 2010. 3-0 Mets as we go to the ninth. Toyota, now's the perfect time to get yours during Toyota's National Clearance Event. By AT&T, find out what's possible with the nation's fastest 3G network. By McDonald's, grab a delicious caramel or mocha frappe at participating McDonald's. By Salt in theaters July 23rd. Frankie Rodriguez on to try and save it. Matt Diaz leads off the ninth inning and takes a strike. Frankie bidding for his 21st save today. Johan Santana went the first 7. Bobby Parnell a terrific 1-2-3/8, and now K-Rod trying to do his bid in the ninth. And Diaz fouls off the breaking ball. It's 0-2. A fair ball, they say.
Rod Barajas
threw him out.
He did a great job. He went around Diaz. He made sure he waited to that ball with the spin on it, started to move back towards the field. Watch Barajas. Always alert, never taking anything for granted. It's foul, and then just moves right onto the line. Picked up by Barajas. Heads up play.
Very nicely done for the first out in the ninth. Diaz gave up on that ball. I gave up on that ball. But Rod Barajas didn't.
Well, you got something to work on in the 3 days.
Here's Yunel Escobar. I was already on vacation. And Escobar pops the first pitch into shallow right center. Francoeur is there. Escobar already has begun vacation. I think that was a couple of days ago. And there are 2 out.
Here's the numbers for Frankie this season. 53 punch-outs in only 43 innings. 17 walks is a little high. But this is going fine for his 21st save and 25 opportunities.
Here's a phrase I don't believe that I've used in regard to K-Rod this year. 3 pitches, 2 outs.
Very good.
And now he'll try and make it easy with Melky Cabrera stepping in with the Braves down to their final out. It was a game we said coming into the day that the Mets absolutely had to have. And they had their ace going, and he was special again today. Cabrera takes a strike. The Mets have 12 shutout victories this year, tied with the Padres for the National League lead. Trying to make it a baker's dozen today. And Melky takes a strike, and K-Rod is 1 strike away. Just missed. A ball and 2 strikes. First ball that Frankie has thrown. One and 2 to Melky Cabrera. Fouled away. If Cabrera keeps it going, Eric Hinsky would come up as a pinch hitter. Again, the 1-2. And the curveball laced toward the gap in right center, but overcomes Pagan on the run, and he makes the catch. And fittingly, that's how the first half of the season ends, with Pagan running it down to complete a shutout victory for Johan Santana and the Mets bullpen. They combine on a 5-hitter, and the Mets win a must-win game to go to the All-Star break, just 4 games behind Atlanta.
Well, a monster home run for Ike Davis to score the 2nd run today. Pagan with 3 hits. Couple of runs scored, and his outstanding first half. David Wright, a monster first half, and the Mets 8 games over 500 and 4 behind the Braves going to the break.
Johan Santana with 7 scoreless innings today, giving him 16 straight shutout innings going into the All-Star break, and set up for what is typically his best half of the season. Mets lost the first 2 of the Braves. They didn't have a ton of offense today, but they had enough with their big guy on the mound, Parnell, and Rodriguez doing the rest. 6 up and 6 down out of the bullpen. And Jerry Manuel will head for the All-Star break with his team 8 games over 500. Today's game summary brought to you by Dodge. Visit them at Dodge.com or see your local Dodge dealer today. Santana, the winner, Lowe, the loser.